Oh my gosh. All right. Production's fired after like literally we're already here at episode 4 and production is fired. That's all I got to say. All right. Let me try this again. Hi. It's a wonderful evening. It's Thursday. It's 9:00. So you know what it means. It is time for Drop Gears podcast where we talk about pretty much anything Trackmania. Usually we mauled about certain things in Grand League and then we mauled about other things that are going on in Trackmania. Maybe some juicy drama things or trying to give you news and updates about what's happening because half of you live under a rock. No, I'm kidding. Also, thank you guys for showing us so much support and your feedback. We really do appreciate it. Continue to give us feedback on our Discord as well as YouTube comments, whatever it be. Also, for those listening to us on Spotify, thank you very much. We appreciate that as well. Anyways, introductions. Hi, my name's Import. I am a head admin at Evo and also a TMGL caster for Sinners, the English POV, with my co-caster G-Geek. And we'll go first to the co-casters that show up every week with me. First, we'll go to Lime.
Hello. Well, you guys know me already. I'm Lime. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
That was good.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I'm Shorty. Hello. I'm. This is so weird to take over.
Such a
that line.
disaster.
It's already a disaster. It's the fourth time.
Every week
maybe
we
fifth
can't
time
get
is
this
the
right,
charge.
but all right.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm Shorty. I've recently joined Evo for managing the backwards server and getting that one started. I've been a long time Trackmania player. I've built a couple of maps myself. And overall, I just enjoy playing the game.
It's stuck in that backwards life. And if you didn't notice already,
bit.
because he's literally been sitting in the top right corner quietly waiting for his chance to speak, it is our special guest of this week. It is Spammiej. Spammiej, my guy, how is life in the flat land of Dooch land?
Life's good. Life is good. Life is good. I mean, I will introduce myself as well. If you don't know who I am, active pro player ever since 2011. Right now in a position where I manage the Alliance Trackmania squad through their Trackmania Grand League journey. And, I stream a couple hours a day, Trackmania, have some fun, and organize some events, participate in some, and that's pretty much it that I do right now.
Wow, way to downplay literally everything that you do. Anyways, as we get forward, we will definitely have a moment where we talk about different things that Spammiej is involved in, including like his team management with Alliance and just kind of how he has his takes about TMGL potentially, or just a different perspective that he may have that you as the casual viewer may not necessarily have, or even me as a caster. And so, with that being said, are we all ready to get into our first topic, which is the normal topic? We'll try to keep it quick this time, to not kind of go as long as we have been in the previous weeks. We're going to talk about TMCL and TMGL. If we can go ahead with the first. Yeah, there we go. So TMCL, here you're standing so far after day 2. Step 2, we have one team at the very top. It is Orcs GP Numalops. That is honestly not really a surprise. Numalops has always had good squads, and they have been very selective of talented players overall over the last couple years in Trackmania 2020. Then we go down the line, Schweine Aim, alternate attacks. Man, I refuse to pronounce their name because I always mess it up.
The homies.
Hominotsun.
Team Weeb is what I call it because that's really what it is. Anyways, and then Sprout, Easy Dream, Exalti, and then at the end in 8th place, BS Plus Competition. Yeah. Anybody have anything to say about that really quickly?
I'm surprised that Orcs is in first place. I did not expect Complex to play the way he has been playing. He's a pleasant surprise to me.
Yeah. Did you have was there a team that you actually expected to dominate at all, or well, I mean it's only day 2, but
I would say, Sprout, just by the names purely,
right.
But Sprout is pretty much a coin toss in my opinion as well, because if Scrappy has a bad day, then the whole mood is most likely down. Yeah. Dexter was a bit shaky, but he has been doing really good. Last week he played, superb. But I'm really surprised with Complex. I'm very happy for him as a fellow Dutchie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tied between 2nd through 7th, so it's not
Yeah.
like everybody's like, oh, like they're in like death mode. They still got 5 more games to play, and just so first off, we'll go through who's playing first. It's going to be Easy versus Alternate Attacks as the first game, Exalti versus Homnyo Tsun as the second, Sprout versus Numalops in the third match, and then the spicy match that is coming up this Saturday. And I call it spicy. Not only is it match of the day technically, but it's also I think it's still match of the day. I could be wrong. But also, there's been some drama regarding this. The team manager of Schweine-Aim kind of expressing his little, somewhat of a disappointment and a disagreement with how the match was scheduled. So to give context, BS Plus notified Nadeo at the beginning of the season, once the dates were announced for Challenger League, that their players had a university appointment for this specific day, and therefore they would not be able to play at the normal scheduled time for their matches. That being said, Nadeo said, yeah, perfect. No worries. We'll schedule around you. And they did so. So now that match is happening at 10:30 p.m. Central European time. And the issue is not necessarily the time, but how it was communicated, as Schweine-Aim Racing did not learn that until quite literally 2 days ago, or even last night, I believe. So, yeah, so they're not necessarily too happy. And if I were in their position, I would also not be very happy. I mean, miscommunication, things can happen. But in this case, when it revolves around, I mean, people probably plan their lives around these, the dates and their free time and everything. So probably, yeah, I would not be happy either. Anybody else have any thoughts regarding that?
Oh, I think we're also not happy about it. There's not
Yeah.
much to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we all know that communication is one of the biggest weaknesses of Nadeo, also within TMGL. And maybe that's, I mean, hopefully these kind of things can improve further.
Yeah. And I know I'll be talking a little bit earlier, and Spam, I think you just wanted to talk, so I apologize for cutting you off. I know I'm talking a little bit more early on, but I just am trying to get us through, and then once we get through, I'll shut up. Okay, I promise. All right, Spam, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that playing at that time is probably also gonna impact a lot of the viewership that is gonna be happening. I mean, who the hell watches at 10:30 on a Saturday? Like it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah,
doesn't that also clash with the NA regional playoffs?
Probably.
Yes, it probably does. But doesn't the NA regional playoffs start at 11, if I remember, or no? It's 10 or 11. Yeah, either way, it's gonna clash because it's gonna go for an hour long at minimum, and it's gonna clash in that regard, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah.
It is what it is.
That is Challenger League. Let's go to more exciting things. BDS, they are 4-0, and I hate it that they beat my team, but I mean, hey, whatever. So they beat Sinners 4-0, and I'm gonna be honest, like, I know everybody expected BDS to win, but they didn't necessarily have the easiest win. I know that for a fact that Sinners did at least, and you can count on Sinners to at least fight back every single match. They may not.
It's the same issue every week.
Yeah,
you know?
It's the same issue. They're hot at the beginning because
there, try a fight, everything. They give you really good matches, but it's not happening. It's just not happening. It's actually really sad to see them at last place.
It hurts as a caster.
It hurts you.
Really
I mean, it's every single week I say this as well. When I watch them, they are really strong on the technical maps because that's where they are really strong because they have been playing tech maps for many years. And you can see that when they are playing maps like Slowdown or Raps, they are more on the technical side of things. But when it comes to arrow pipes or some other more like a Clown Fiesta map, then you can see that's their weakness. And that is something that they have to figure out how to solve that because, right now we're over halfway in the season and, things are definitely not looking good for them.
Yeah, I think for the for Sinners, and I mentioned it already during the cast. I mean, it's when you're casting them, even as their team, as much as I support them, you also have to give constructive criticism, even as a caster, even if it's the team that you're rooting for. And the thing that I've always noticed for them is that they start consistent out of the gate. They're more consistent on average at the beginning of the game compared to every team. Usually teams require somewhat of a warm up. We always joke in matchmaking, I'm warming up, right? But that's kind of how it is in TMGL. A lot of the teams kind of have to get into the groove at the start. I feel like Sinners typically is already in the groove at the start compared to other teams, but the issue is that overall pace is obviously not there. If you look at all the graphs, if you go to the Trackmania subreddit and you see where they post those graphs, you will see that the pacing times of Sinners compared to every other team is on average one of the worst out of everybody. And that is unfortunately their downfall, because once the other team has finally gotten out of their shaky phase at the start and they're hot on their heels, it's usually a blowout at that point afterwards, unfortunately.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. Okay. Well, Shorty, did you have anything?
Oh, we mentioned that last week already.
Yeah, true.
I definitely agree with that.
And then next match was Karmine Corp versus Big, and Karmine Corp won 4-2. Did anybody expect this? Yes, no?
No.
I mean, I've said this, I think, every single week. I'm not sure what I wonder what Spam thinks about this, but calling in this new system with duos and with everything going the way it is, with pick and bans, so many different maps, map picking strategies, teams that didn't play before together. I really struggle with being able to say, I expected this. Like, the only team I expected to do good is Solary, which they are, and anything else, I had almost no real idea what to feel about the matches, and I still feel the same about it.
I think this match was on paper really close, though. This one could have gone either way, but I think in this match it was really Massa failing his best maps, and then also Granadi failing his best maps. If you compare those, the pace that they could have done from previous matches, and that's, I think, what was in the end the downfall for them.
Do you feel like that Big has a bigger tilt factor overall than the other teams?
I don't think so. I think they are pretty, like, if now I don't speak German, but when I listen to Trillick's cast, you can have the voice comms. You can have the voice comms from Massa and
Right.
Granadi, and to me it seems like they have a pretty good understanding of what to do in certain situations mentally. And from my talks with Massa, he seems to be the guy that tries to keep the spirits high, even if they are like losing, which is a good thing. So
Yeah.
I don't think they have like a huge tilt factor. I mean, if you look at individual players, I would say Massa, yes, is definitely the bigger tilter out of these 4 players here, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's affecting performance at all.
One thing that I noticed on this match, at least, was that towards the end, on when they start gaining points and when they were ahead, it was like some sort of being nervousness or like feel pressure to keep the performance at the level that it was. And then that also leads you to be so pressured about being or doing everything so perfect to keep your level that you start making many mistakes that you shouldn't, or it wasn't on your mind, like to do, like the performance has to be so good that you have to keep your level, and that fucks you up mentally and you start playing more shaky. At least that's what I saw on the matches. Like, many mistakes that could have been avoidable, but for some reason they couldn't. They just couldn't avoid them.
I mean,
And then you end up dying,
Yeah, especially in this match, there was a memorable round where, I mean, maybe you have seen the clip where Massa and Granadi were both in 1 and 2 after Bren and Otak made a mistake early on. There was like a 5-6 second gap, and they still got aced in that round.
Yes.
And that is something that you just mentioned, where they were probably overthinking the situation to the point where they were going for safer lines and it's not comfortable, and then
Yeah, that is one of the things that we have discussed here in the podcast, and mostly by me, is that sometimes when you see that you're ahead and then you're trying to play it safe, you start making more mistakes because it's not something that you're comfortable with.
Yep.
And then they end up costing you the match. And then you're second guessing yourself, like, should I have risk? Should I have this? Should I have done this? And you don't have no one to tell you like what to do because it's only you and your teammate. So it's a tricky situation to have.
True.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next match here. It was G1 versus Binks. And also, here's your news update. G1 did actually stream this week. They did not skip their stream as they did the previous week. Because NFL things were way more important, apparently. And yeah, so they streamed and they actually, like, how do I say this? Odablock streamed. He had the correct game set. It was not Trashmania. It was Trackmania this time.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Yeah, it was he streamed the matches. Did he actually have commentary? No, he was talking about RuneScape the entire time. But hey, he did it. So yeah, hey, G1 streamed, and at least it wasn't G1 Live with the CEO talking random crap about people. That was weird. Anyways, so yeah, gamers first. They did win 4-1. Honestly, Gwen and Binks. Yes, Gwen and Binks. Hello, they're right in front of my face. Yeah, Gwen and Binks doing a really good job. I think they are. They're kind of in the mid pack, but I think overall they're a really good duo. And it's kind of unfortunate because ITB, they are kind of like, to me at least, the fan favorite, and they're kind of my personal fan favorite as well. And they just seem to be really struggling right now.
I mean, if I have to say a thing about gamers first, it's they started the season off rough, and I mean, Alliance was lucky to play them when they were at their worst. Like, I'm just gonna go and say that. But then again, we have seen like Gwen play a phenomenal match and Binks being a little bit slower. And then last time it was Binks. I mean, he drove absolutely incredible. Like, I don't know how many world records he drove, or like live world records. And then Gwen was a little bit, driving as a second player. But Bing's absolute domination. And I think if these two guys are both on point on a match day, that I don't see anyone beating them, honestly.
Yeah, I think they definitely have the ability to take games off the top, and I definitely think they have the ability to be at the top. It seems they were kind of like struggling a little bit, but I think overall, in the last couple weeks here, we'll see them probably reach the top. I don't know. We'll see. But I think overall, their trajectory is just pushing themselves towards the top. ITB, on the other hand, really struggling at the moment. I would say that Forever's belt has come out way too many times. And
yeah, it has to keep coming out because
it keeps coming out. And Forever, the belt is not working, my guy. Yeah. Forever's in the chat right now, and Forever, the belt is not working, my guy. It's time to, I don't know, upgrade the belt or something, man.
Oof. Yeah, Forever guy.
Yeah, Forever guy. He's gonna actually be the guest next week, if I remember correctly. If I believe he confirmed. So yeah, Forever will be also joining us next week, so that'll be really cool, and he can kind of give us some insight regarding ITB and all the dings. And next time it's going to be the buckle. Okay, well, all right. We're going to go to the last game here.
Let's hope it works.
It's the match of the day and a 4-0 sweep by Solari against Alliance. Did anybody expect this? Yes or no?
Sort of.
No.
I mean, not for zero, of course, but I did expect Sly to win. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, now that we finally have the Alliance match, maybe Spam can talk a little bit more about the team and the performance overall, maybe as well, like the last couple of weeks in general. But I do still think that on a good day, which is almost any day basically, winning against Sly is gonna be very tough for any team.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't expect to. Personally, obviously, I'm always rooting to win. But when you're facing off Pack and Carl, and you have seen Pack absolutely dominate every single week, and Carl basically driving, as a second player in the team. That's kind of the position that he takes. I mean, it's very tough to even come close to beating them. We just had a really bad day. Mada, I mean, we had a post-match interview, and he said it was just completely off, and he wasn't feeling it. And then Solja is new in the league. So far, he has been doing really well, but he was also not doing much this match. And it could be pressure, could be because you're nervous playing against Pack and Carl, which is completely normal. But yeah, I was not expecting a 4-0. I was more like looking at like maybe a 4-2. We definitely have some good maps, but yeah, Pack and Carl, I mean, when they are on, they are really on. So it's always hard.
It's also really hard to like go against it. Like you can feel it when the opponents are like playing really strong, and then fighting back is becoming even harder than it already is.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. Now, so let's look at the standings really quickly, and then we can go into the questions regarding the next topic is esports and Trackmania. It's going to kind of be a mishmash of asking Spammiej on his insights as a team manager and everything, but let's go over the standings really quickly. So at the top is Team BDS at 4-0. Solari, Karmine Corp tied for second at 3-1. Gamers First Alliance tied at fourth for 2-2. Big and ITB tied at 1-3 for sixth. And then at the very bottom is unfortunately Sinners Esports. And to be fair to Sinners, even though the score looks terrible, honestly, they had at least half of their matches, so two of their matches were really like coin flip matches, especially against Karmine Corp, and as well as who was it else that they played against? Was it ITB? Yes, I think. No, it was Solari, because they went up 2-0 against Solari, and then they got reverse sweeped. Anyways, yeah, in the mud. And for this Sunday coming up, it is going to be starting off with ITB versus Big, G1 versus Sinners afterwards, BDS versus Alliance, and then the match of the week is going to be Karmine Corp versus Solari. Does anybody have any predictions? Just quick predictions.
I can go first. I will say first match is going to be Big winning, second G1, third Alliance, and last match Solari.
I would say Big, G1, Alliance, and Solari. Yeah, the same basically. What's the same?
Yeah.
I think that was the same. Yeah, I'm the same, but I sadly have to say that I think BDS is gonna win.
Okay.
BDS?
So I'm gonna say ITB. I'm going to huff the copium super hard for Sinners because they have to win out in order to make playoffs. So huffing that copium really hard right now. And then I would, BDS versus Alliance. I think BDS is going to win. But I think BDS is going to win, and then Solari, I'd say heavily favors Solari in the match of the week. But I mean, Solari could be off because Solari was very weak at the beginning, and they were weak against Sinners, so it's a possibility that they could have a moment of weakness and Karmine Corp capitalize that, which they have on a lot of teams if anybody's watched their games. So I think, that one's kind of a toss-up too, but I slightly favor Solari on that one. Anyways, that is it. We are done with TMGL, and we only did it in 25 minutes. I think that's a new record after 4 episodes. So now we are going to be talking about esports and Trackmania, or rather Trackmania and esports. It's kind of a twofold topic here, and what better person to have with us than Spammiej to be able to kind of give insight as a team manager, as a caster, as a former pro player, because you have been in the pro scene for, forever.
Yep. Very long.
So, you've been playing since 2011. I've been playing since 2014, but I really don't consider myself really like quote unquote playing seriously Trackmania until 2020. So I played TM2 Stadium for all those years and was literally a hard full speed beginner casual.
Literally, I'm playing Trackmania for over 10 years as well already, and that basically at the beginning Spam was already there.
Yeah, I've been playing since 2007. So
Oh, 2007. I'm sorry.
pro play 2011. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, yeah. Anyways, so I mean, let's put this perspective. Then you've been playing since 2007. Then you became a pro 2011. Did you ever expect at any point, let's say from 2011 to 2017, that Trackmania would come to this point in esports?
Oh, definitely not, because the year that you just ended on was arguably one of the worst years for Trackmania esports. I remember I think 2017 was the year where it skipped having a World Cup. And it was probably the year where everyone thought that, yeah, this is just going to be, it's going to be over. There's no Nadeo supporting a World Cup. Online tournaments were fading away. LAN events were like dying off, and it was like, yeah, what the hell is going to happen now? But luckily for me, I was streaming at that time already, so I could just keep on playing my game that I wanted to. But during that period, it was really rough. Like 2016, 2017, that is like the worst years for Trackmania esports.
Yeah. And then run me through your team history really quickly. I know at some point you were on Team Dignitas. Were you on a team before them? Like
Yes.
actual org?
Yeah, I was. It was an organization called Rage Gaming. They were back then. Call of Duty 4 was like a huge esports, and they had like a huge team in Call of Duty 4, Pro Mod, if anyone knows. And then I joined together with Znick. At that time, we had a Trackmania team, Rage Gaming, and then later on, me and Znick were basically like partnering up to have like a Trackmania organization, and we joined a Norwegian org, Arctic Nova, they were called. And that was like my two teams before Dignitas that were like already like considered, yeah, professional teams. But Dignitas was in 2011, and it was mainly because I qualified myself for the Trackmania World Cup, and I didn't want to go to this event without a sponsor or anyone like, you know, I wanted to promote someone at this World Cup because World Cup is super big. So I contacted Bergie at the time, and I said, "Yo, I qualified for the World Cup. I deserve to be, I deserve to be in Dignitas." That's literally what I said to him at like 16 years old. I was like, "Yeah, how about you just get me in?" And
That's a giga chat move.
yeah, yeah. I mean, back then I didn't know how to communicate, right? I was just.
I mean, at least I mean, it worked in your favor too, because at that point in esports, like they were handing out like sponsorships like candy. Like teams were picking up people left and right in whatever scene they could.
Now, for like contract wise, back then we didn't get anything. It was just, you know, you join a team, you have the name, you promote us, and that's about it. We cover like food or like travel expenses, but no salaries, no nothing. If you wanted like gear or something like that, it was such a hard time to get anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you basically just played for many years for like just for free. But yeah, 2011 till 2015, I think that was the Dignitas time. And then unfortunately, Dignitas got bought by the 76ers, the basketball team. And at that time, it was
ruining everything.
At that time, they didn't want to incorporate Trackmania anymore because Trackmania was so small. It was literally on a decline, like I said earlier.
Yep.
So the whole Trackmania squad got kicked, and we were the best. Like there was no other team besides Team Acer that was competing with us, but we were literally at the top for like all the time. So yeah, that's basically that's basically my Dignitas history. And the funny thing is, after Dignitas kicked us, we joined our rivals at Team Expert. So Acer switched into Team Expert, and then we basically this is so funny because Team Expert already had a team, right?
Right.
And we came in and we were the better ones. Like we just joined with like 8 players or 9 players at the time, and we were like so much better than the original Team Expert team. So I remember there was a discussion about like merging each other, but we didn't want to merge because yeah, we were just better, and we were kind of cocky as well to think about it right now. But at the time, it was like, yeah, well, we are now the big boys in this organization. It was Team Expert Black and Expert Orange, and then at a team tournament like Team Orange, which was the original one, they didn't play so good, and then like 95% of that lineup got literally benched, and we stayed. So we basically took over the
Oh my god.
entire organization at that time. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was rough, but even at those times, there weren't really salaries or anything. It was just you still play for fun, and you had a good time compared to what it is now.
Yeah. And then explain to us, how did you end up getting picked up by Alliance?
Well, for Alliance, I still was playing for another team. It was the Fuse Kids at the time. This was at the start of Trackmania Grand League. So we had the qualifiers, obviously, to get into the Grand League. I qualified for the Benelux slot together with Scrappy at the time. And in order to play in Grand League, you needed to have an organization. And I didn't have one at the time. I was just streaming and playing for fun. And then I found this Benelux org, which was the Fuse Kids. They don't exist anymore right now. But yeah, they wanted to sponsor me, and this was the first time I was with a Benelux organization. It was really fun. Everyone spoke Dutch. Everyone was just, it was easy communication. And this is also the time where my first ever salaries came in as a Trackmania Pro player. So I played in the Fuse Kids, and then unfortunately I was outgrowing them at a quite a big pace, and I wanted more. I basically was getting more worthy of a player, and I wanted more, earnings. So I decided, well, if you cannot give me this, then I will have to find something else. And that's where the next season after that I joined Alliance, and yeah, I've been there ever since.
Nice. Yeah, it's a journey. I'm sure to think kind of all the moves that you made. See, it's one of those things where you kind of look back, like even for me, for example, because my esports experience and everything, I've never been a pro player, but I've always been an event coordinator, a community builder. Especially in the States, in the collegiate scene, when League of Legends had their big collegiate, like they still have a collegiate scene, but they used to really build collegiate programs. And that's where my whole experience goes. So just kind of even looking back, and that started kind of back in the 2014-ish, 2015-ish era. And then going to where we are now, it's always like, it feels like, I don't know about for you and your like career so far, but it always feels like, did that really happen? Like, what was that time? What was happening at the time?
It's a journey.
Yeah. But I mean, Lime, Shorty, I bet you guys have similar experiences too, right?
Yeah, I mean, also with League, basically, the scene in Latin America, Chile specifically, those years, 2014, it was a whole mess. No one knew what to do. Everyone was trying to make out the best out of what they had, and now you see like in a standardized type of league that you have right now, a championship. That is the same thing that is happening here now in Trackmania, which I'm really happy to see it, because it's comfortable to be in an environment where everything is professional. You don't have to be begging for I don't know, a sponsor, or you don't have to be begging for the minimum. Everything is set there, and then you don't have to go through this uncertainty of what's going to happen next, basically, which is the messy part that you have to go through before you are in this point.
Oh, I just want to jump in here because you say uncertainty, but there was the season where the Fuse Kids, basically, where I wanted more, and it was like one whole year where I couldn't find an organization until Alliance came, and I literally almost pulled the trigger to stop, like, basically everything, my entire ties to Trackmania and streaming in general. And yeah, it was like a one whole year where I was just contacting like hundreds of organizations, like trying to network my way. And I was like, I mean, if it took another 3 weeks, I would have probably stopped. And then all of a sudden, I got a message from Omar saying that he had found some org that was interested, and it was basically, you know, the savior of my career. Yeah, tough times back then.
Yeah, it
I
is.
actually
Okay,
yeah,
continue, Shorty. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I always it's an interesting topic that you bring up, because at the very beginning already, I've wanted to ask you about that kind of topic. Maybe quickly I can say, now that you basically brought back up, like you talked about your whole career when it started to it end. It really gets also me, of course, a little bit sentimental, because I've also obviously at that time, or during that period, I've also, I mean, you said you said professional player. I wouldn't really consider myself professional player. I've been in orgs, of course. I've been in Euronics. I've been in BX3 with Sneak, like you mentioned
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Really nice guy. It's just um, Import said it's a journey, and it really is. And I'm really fucking happy that it turned out the way it is. I mean, if you think about it, how things went, like literally for over 5 years or something like that, you had a period of Trackmania being a really nice, awesome community. You kind of had an esports scene to some degree still, but year after year, it got a tiny little bit worse, and just
Yep.
kind of depressing kind of way. And then you had a small period where it started to be like, yeah, well, things are over, and all like kind of out of nothing, more or less. I mean, pretty much out of nothing in a way. Things finally start to get better now, and it's just astonishing in a way. And I'm really glad that this is. I mean, in an alternative universe, Trackmania would be dead. We wouldn't have this podcast. You would be managing Alliance right now. We would just this would all just not be there, and it was really close to that happening.
Oh, it was definitely close. I think if it continued the downtrend for another year in like the 2017, I'm pretty sure a lot of the pro players would have stopped.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
and the whole
we know it,
scene,
right? Like everyone
yeah.
was close to pull the trigger. You weren't the only one.
Yeah, and the whole scene would have probably just collapsed. I mean, look at it from the perspective now. How many of the veteran old players are still playing the game at the top? Like there hasn't really been a change of like the guard, you know? Like
Yeah.
for me, I'm like the first one to like legit step down from the pro scene. I mean, I'm looking at Tween and I'm watching some pictures from 2011, 2012, and I see me and him on a stage, and I'm like, God damn, this guy is still playing. And then you know, it's like, man, it's crazy to think about. But we got some youngsters coming in, so that's always good.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's healthy.
And now
Yeah.
you have
And-
old timers even coming back. Like look at Onio,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
trying
true.
out in the regionals again, trying
Yep.
to prove that he's still worthy.
Yeah,
I
or
will say
Carl.
though, Onio has been doing this for like literally every single year, saying he's making a
Yeah.
comeback, and then he just stops again. So I take it really with a grain of salt, well, like what he says. So we'll see what it. I mean, I would be happy if he comes back. He's a cool guy, but hey, he has been. This is like his 7th comeback that
I mean,
I've witnessed.
I talked to him. I talked to him about it, because he asked me if how playing wise it looks, because he needed a partner, of course.
Yeah.
He's not fully into it yet, but he's like, obviously he's aware of his motivation being the way it is, but he's very motivated right now. That's at least
Okay, I mean,
much.
it's
But
good.
it's as always. But he knows that he's also looking into other things, so it's not he's not
Yeah.
stupidly going full head on. Like he's not that stupid, at least. But we will see how things develop. It would be fun, but yeah.
True.
Trackmania changed so much over the years. Like I would not want to play those maps anymore, personally. Like that's the main problem actually for me. Like that's why I faded out. Like I mean, I've always never been like that much into the action and into the normal kind of full train competitions, of course. But those kind of maps, it's just not me. It's impossible for me. I'm still enjoying it from an outsider's perspective. For playing myself, nah, never, no
Yeah.
chance.
I mean, TMGL requires a very strong mental thing. Like for me, even like it was too much to handle. Like I could not balance the streaming aspect, my real life, my sleep, and then practicing and trying to, perform on match day. It was too much. And it's like, oh. But now when I think about it, it was like, how the hell did I even balance it in the first place for so many years? Like it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I kind of want to play again, but then I'm like, dude, if you do that again, you're gonna be sitting here in your room till 3 a.m. playing the same map every single time. Wake up, go again, stream. It's like hell no. I'm in a much better headspace right now, and I truly enjoy the position that I have acquired right now. It is really good.
And
The
I feel like
burnout
the
from
game
Trackmania is
requires,
real.
yeah, I feel like the game requires such an insane amount of focus the
Oh, yeah.
entire time. It demands your full attention, and like even just somebody who, as like from my perspective, somebody who like can play generally any game relatively well, never to a pro level, but more like just like relatively well, like I get a good understanding of every game. And for me, my issue with every game is that like, yeah, I could sink a ton of hours into it, but to be able to maintain that focus is so mentally draining. And the fact that like you can practice hours and hours, but if you don't have any focus of what you're doing, it almost feels fruitless in a way.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it at that point. And like to be able to not only play, for me, Trackmania, I have a limit, like maybe 2 hours max, 2 to 3 hours per day max, before my brain is just like, I'm doing something so monotonous, like I can't handle it anymore. I have to keep focused, and it's just too much. And the fact that we have players today in the regionals especially, and TMGL, TMCL, where they play hours upon hours a day.
Yep.
And fighting to keep that focus, it's just an insane, it's not like other games. I feel like there's, because in other games you have so many changing things, there's so many different things that can happen, and like you can react to those, and you don't necessarily, you have to keep focused, but it's so different in a way, while Trackmania is so very in its base form so simplistic that literally you have to be perfect in every single thing that you do.
Oh yeah, people underestimate the things that goes on during a Trackmania match. I mean, you can see it. People just, whenever someone makes a mistake, people throw the XDDs, the KEKWs, but they have no absolute idea what the hell it requires to not make those mistakes. Like it's just, there is no other game that I can think of esports wise where you can compare it. Right now, it is pretty good because you have a teammate, but before this season, it was just yourself. And if you make a mistake, it's all your fault, and you cannot really. All you can do is blame yourself. And right now, I think it's quite nice to have like a partner in crime where if something goes wrong, you can lift each other up, and the spirit is still a little bit saved. But people they underestimate Trackmania so much. And I mean, yeah, you can see it by all the newcomers that come to the game, and they're like, "Wow, I thought this game was super easy, but I cannot even get through this turn, or how do you do this?" Or
right,
it's like ridiculous. And especially like mentally, competitions is just, I mean, it's draining. It truly is.
Yeah,
It's the pressure of the perfection,
yeah,
because you
Yeah.
only, at least now in TMGL, you only have one match per weekend.
Oh yeah,
And
it's terrible.
And you basically have to perform
yeah,
at your top, with the pressure that if you make a mistake, it might be over.
Yep.
Even if you have your teammate, it's just one match, and this is something that we've been discussing. It should be not so punishable. Punishable is the word? I don't know. For the players to only have one match per weekend.
right,
I know this is the new schedule and everything, but it's something that should be work in the future. So the players mentally, they are not so fucked up, on thinking, I only have this weekend, I'm preparing everything in this weekend. If I don't perform well this weekend, then I have to wait until the next one. And what happens if the next one I don't perform well? You need to have someone at your back saying, hey, you know what? It might happen, it might not, but the mental in this game is just so vulnerable, and that causes people like you, I imagine that there was some point in your life that you were like, you know what, I'm so burnt out. I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
can.
don't take care of your players, then you lead to that. And what happens to your competitive scene, you know?
Yep. Yeah, some insight I can give is in one of my worst seasons in TMGL, I actually I'm pretty sure I have been one of the first to actually have a mental coach. Thanks to Alliance, we have a coach that is actually an ex-Olympic coach in the Asia region.
Oh, that's
And
impressive.
yeah, I actually had like 4 or 5 sessions with him to see if I could improve or how to better prepare myself for peak performance during that season, because you're building up like the entire week through one specific moment. And if you can find some sort of, like, this is what he taught me, if you can find some sort of pattern that is look like you can repeat a thing and your performance will always be in a certain range. So let's say on Monday you practice a certain amount of hours, on Tuesday you do the same, and then on Wednesday you take a day off, and because you take a day off, your Thursday performance is all of a sudden much better compared to your practice on Monday and Tuesday. So
Mhm.
we were trying a lot of like different recipes to get myself into the stage where on Sunday I would perform at my highest level potential based on like statistics from the past week. And I mean, in the end, it did help a lot, even just to talk to someone that has like a lot of experience in coaching, sports athletes, because in the end we are athletes, and I do truly think that we are on the same level of like mental output that a sports athlete does as well. We use our brain, we use our hand-eye coordination and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that I was talking to like a mental coach to help me increase my performance during like one of my worst seasons was like super helpful. And I think this is something that we're gonna see throughout the next seasons in Trackmania as well, where organizations will use coaches to lift their players up to newer heights, because I think it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
isn't that there's a moment as a player that you second guess yourself on the level that you are. For example, that you see other people performing, and then you are like, oh my god, I reached my point, I reached
Yep.
my level, and then what you do after that, because you have to keep performing, but you also are guessing yourself. Is this my level? Is this my point? Did I reach my limits?
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement, and that's where I think like a coach, an actual coach, can be very helpful, for sure.
I mean, definitely. I definitely would say that. I mean, the thing is, I do think that the mental side of things in certain games and compared to normal sports is different, because obviously Trackmania is still to some degree physical with steering and with the hand-eye coordination, but because that's not as much as, like, for example, let's say you do like long jump or something like that. Of course, there's also a huge mental part in that, but it's maybe not as huge as the physical part. Or like it's like if you compare it at least, and I would say that the mental part in Trackmania is definitely, considering like comparing with other sports in general, like super high. So you're
Yeah.
saying with the mental coach, it makes a lot of sense, because in the end, also from my point of view, it's really about the mental in matches, because if you didn't practice, of course you didn't practice, but usually you did practice, and it's not like you are essentially worse or better than the opponent automatically. It really is a mental game, and if you're just not in the zone, then you just play so much worse than if you are.
Yeah.
And obviously the goal is to try and get to that state, like force it, like forcing, like
Exactly.
finding, like exactly what you just said, basically, Spam. Like that's basically what you have to find.
Yeah, you have to find the perfect recipe for to be at your peak level at that moment of the day. And if you can find that, then you can always repeat the same process, and that way you have like a pattern. And if a pattern occurs three times, then you can consider it as something that actually works. So That is like the philosophy that I went for during my whole entire last 2.5 seasons. Always trying to find a certain pattern that worked.
That's actually cool. Like very cool to know that you did did that with the mental coach. Because it just makes so much fucking sense, to be fair. Like really.
Yeah, I mean it does.
And considering
It's something
I mean
every
now
player should have. I mean, on a higher
Yeah,
level, of
it's
course.
pretty much, yeah, right?
it's just not available for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
the top orgs will always have some sort of person that can fit this like spot, but I think to have someone like it doesn't even have to be like a person that knows about the game, because like I said, the person that I was talking to was like an Olympic sports like coach, mental coach, and like his ways of working he applied it to me and it worked. And yeah, it's it's
Do you know if any other organization right now in the TMGL has the same
I don't think
sport coach? I mean,
I
yeah.
don't think
think
so.
so.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have heard Masa talk about like wanting a mental coach or someone like this, but so far I don't think anyone has like done the same thing that I have done.
I mean,
Yep.
funnily enough, because you mentioned Onyo earlier, I remember in 2000, I think 16 was it? Like the first time I drove to Gamers Assembly together with him. Like on the way, he told me that like at some point during his career, like a year before, like he had like 1 year in Gamers Assembly where he was like completely trash, where he played really shit, and then he told me, yeah, he just bought a mental book. And
Yeah, I mean,
like that's what he did. Like it makes sense, right? Like I was in the car and I was like, oh, that's actually smart. And I mean,
Yeah,
for
you
him it
have to
worked.
find
I feel
ways,
like.
to help yourself. If you don't have the resources, try to find whatever might help you and take it.
Yeah. No, we definitely will see more of that in Trackmania soon, probably.
Well, I
So-
hope so.
I mean, I hope so.
I
like,
want to
it's important.
Yeah, I
Go
want to
ahead.
pose as the the devil's advocate here, as the not against mental coaches, because I do think they're important and I do think they have their place and I do think they definitely have a need in Trackmania and or just esports in general. But what I will say is that I feel that some teams will push to have a mental coach, and I see this a lot in bigger esports games such as League of Legends, where they think that the mental coach is going to suddenly solve all of their problems.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing for teams considering, especially in Trackmania, because I think actually having a mental coach in Trackmania would be 10 times more valuable than in a game like League of Legends, because League of Legends is already a mental game as is. There's so many things that you have to pay attention to. There's so many things that you have to calculate in your brain. A mental coach has to also be able to kind of navigate those thought processes, and that's a lot of information to try to help a player go through. And oftentimes what it ends up, especially if the mental coach has no freaking idea what the game is or has no experience, they're not going to be helpful at all. Trackmania, on the other hand, a game that requires focus more than anything else, is something that a mental coach can easily hone in on, because Trackmania, and like we already mentioned, at its base form, it is a very simple game, and it's just all about precision and focus. Everything else, obviously, there's mechanics. It gets a little bit more advanced than that, obviously, but the base form of the game is very simple. And a mental coach could easily focus in on that and help a player focus in that regard, and focus and basically teach them, I don't know, mental games, or whatever their theory is, in assisting the player in order to be able to keep calm, not allow mistakes or anything to cause them to essentially go into panic mode. Other attempts to modify these things. That's something that I would see very much more valuable in Trackmania. But at the same time, teams have to understand that sometimes it may not necessarily be the mental of a player, but it may just be the actual performance of a player. And teams are going to have to be careful bringing in a mental coach and understand that sometimes the player may just need to be a little bit more regimented in how they play the game rather than their mental.
Okay.
So that's my perspective coming from a coach. I used to be a coach, not in professional esports team, but collegiate esports.
Why are you not a coach anymore?
Dealt with a lot of college age students who had a lot of distractions, and being able to and having the needing to have the skills to manage college age students to be able to focus on what they're doing in that moment and not being distracted by whatever's going on in their life or whatever, to be able to focus on their team and what they're playing at the time. It was, as a coach, very difficult, and in a lot of ways it happens for a community organizer too. And maybe Lime, you can kind of maybe agree to this, that community organizers also have to kind of do the same thing. They have to be able to manage the mentality of the community to prevent them from getting distracted and going on a rampage, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yes. We've seen some players that after match and during the match they start like saying things, or like, I don't know, causing drama, would you say? Because they couldn't manage themselves, and their community couldn't manage themselves also. But I think that it's something that goes more into who the person is, more than who is behind them, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, that was my point. It's just in German, Vorsicht, just be careful.
I mean, it's a fair concern. It's definitely a fair concern. Like the reason why I brought it up was mainly because in that time I was, all alone. It was like solo, and it was just me. It was just me, myself, and my performance. And I think the fact that that I could share my issues that I had with someone that has like a lot of knowledge about how to deal with certain situations, especially in Trackmania, was really beneficial. Now, of course, this person is he doesn't know the game, but he knows how to tackle situations and how a player would feel at certain times. And therefore I could, fix those things, and therefore my performance went up because I knew what to do when that problem arises during a match or during my practice sessions. And like it all tied in together perfectly, to have that kind of mental coach behind me. It gives confidence as well, because this person always believes in you, and he's there to bring you to new heights as well. So it is like to me it has a lot of it had only positive impact. So I don't know any negative experience that I had or in Trackmania overall. So I cannot really say if it's a bad thing. For me it was positive, and that's and I think many players would benefit if it is the exact same situation that I was in. I think it is a huge thing.
Yeah, I would like to dig on something that you said, Spammiej, is that you mentioned a couple times, that you said player two as on a team, not that you have a player two. How is the dynamic in between the players that you have right now on your team?
If I would say it is mainly Mudda who is the leader in this in Alliance, and Solja is basically what I've been saying, like the second player that is like we have Mudda, who is arguably way faster on pace and consistency and everything, and Solja is trying to tie the gap to get closer to Mudda. But there is like the balance where Mudda takes most of the calls, most of the lead, and Solja is, I'm not really saying trying to keep up, because he can keep up, but he is definitely the weaker player on paper. and Mudda is helping him, get to his newest heights.
I mean, maybe we can phrasing it like Soldier is still like finding and developing his game, while Mudda is basically Mudda has already perfected his game. Like that's not
Exactly.
of his concern anymore. But Soldier is still new to everything and still has to learn.
Yeah.
And build that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think other organizations also kind of do the same thing, or you notice that, for example, there are some players that is like playing solo queue, for example, when it comes to TMGL performance?
I don't think so. I mean, you definitely see teams that have like a way stronger, like where there's like a clear strong player on certain maps, and then the other player is a little bit weaker. But I think when I look at the players on paper, I think Alliance is definitely the lineup where everyone would say Mudda is really, really good and Soldier is the new guy. That's pretty much the vibe that everyone has, and I think we're trying to get rid of that. That's definitely the thing that is our focus for sure. We don't want to have that that vision where Soldier is like the new guy and he probably cannot compete or something. Like it's really it's like a thing that is in people's minds that is really, to me it's annoying, but it's understandable as well.
Yeah, it's the reputation that a player has
exactly.
as a newcomer. Yeah, it's. Do you think he might have like this pressure of getting rid of that, or to overperform or outperform Mudan? I don't know.
I don't think so. He's really confident, and every time I speak with him, he knows well what his weaknesses are, and he works on it, and he is very motivated. And no, so far I think I've only seen positive things from him being in Challenger to where he is now. So it is definitely he's definitely on the correct path to being a true TMGL player. For sure.
Do you think that for you, now that you see that the players now have a teammate, do you think that back then, if you had a teammate, your performance would have been better than?
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, funnily enough, Alliance actually before the season asked if I wanted to play with Mudda, and I said, nah, I'm not playing. So, but if it was like 3 years ago, then yeah, I think having a teammate would have been very, very beneficial to how I would perform, because I was always a very consistent player, never really fast. Of course, I could be fast, but then I would be giving up consistency and making potentially more mistakes. So if you would combine me with like a really fast player, it would have been like a pretty damn good combination of skill in a team. But I think even if I would play with a better player, it would have uplifted me to also be better, because I would have to keep up with my teammate. So yeah, it would definitely have had an impact on me. But that's hindsight. So
yeah,
exactly.
All right, so I want to get in one final question, and then we're gonna kind of get to the end of our podcast here. But final question would be to you, Spammiej, and then the others can chime in if they wish to. But we've kind of already discussed it before in the podcast already. But from your perspective as a team manager, as a former pro, as a caster, how do you feel about the format?
I really like it. I actually thoroughly enjoy watching it. I am very positive about it. The only thing is that it's too few matches. That's pretty much my only criticism. I think an ace, or there has to be something done with the 4th place finisher.
yes.
That is pretty much my only thing I don't like. But overall, I truly enjoy watching it. But maybe it's because I have let my competitive side behind me, and I'm now watching it more from a viewer perspective, true Trackmania enjoyer. And I think I enjoy watching this way more than like laps mode or 1v1s or anything like that. No, it's only positive from me, besides those 2 points that I mentioned.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. The biggest conversation we had, I think it was week 1, guys, or week 2, which was literally like
I think the first week already.
But yeah, what we talked about, like to at least some extent, the 4th place finisher. Because right now it just seems absolutely useless, and the fact that like you can just DNF, it doesn't really matter. Like I think honestly you should be, and I'll kind of quickly rehash what our points were. At least for my points, was that DNFing should be punishable. You should have to finish the map. If you can't finish the map, then your team should lose that round. If you're not able to finish, like that's like kind of dumb.
Agree.
That it really only matters the top 3. But yeah, and then but that's from the TMGL side and even the TMCL side. I'm very happy with how the format is. From the regional side, that's where it gets a little bit more dicey, because the regional side, there's a lot of things that we all know is basically coming from Fastpoint and basically being adapted to the World Tour. But the biggest gripe, and I know for a fact from a lot of managers, is kind of the rule changes that have magically appeared that aren't in the rule book, but now our rule is but yeah, those are our thoughts regarding that. But
yeah, the don't get me started with rule books. Like it shouldn't even be called a rule book. It should be called like a, I don't know, guidance. It just
really
guides you in a certain path, and you know, well, when we land there, then it's gonna be Omar or a Softy or someone else who just be like, oh, yeah, we'll just do this instead. Like it's just like a guide on how things are potentially ran. But yeah, we have seen so many things. I mean, the worst part for me was when Mudda had to I actually got pissed at this. Mudda had to change his trigram because I don't freaking know. It had to be like his either his name or his or alliance. And then the next match, I see Massa driving with 21. I see another player, Otak, driving with something else, and I'm like, dude, if you are doing this, just get it across all of the things. And you know, I since I'm in this manager position, I just wrote him a message. I was like, what the hell is this about? And you know, those are the type of things that pisses me off when you treat someone like this way, and then the other one you just do like this. Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of things that.
But do you think that improved over the years? Because I do feel like the first couple of seasons with the rules, especially, it was even worse.
Oh yeah, but there are still rules that just don't make any sense. Like it's.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like they write them down and they don't think about it. It's like, I don't know.
Actually, I just had a final question pop up. I like, we try to keep it to an hour and a half at maximum, but I do have a final question that popped up in my head because I really want to get your perspective on this. What do you think regarding the Dio's approach to the splintered viewership that they have, and their literal refusal that they've stated multiple times that they do not find a main Nadio cast on their main channel for Grand League to not be valuable to them?
I don't know. It's to me, they have to have like a main cast. Like the thing is, like this is no shame to like Virtual and Janik who are doing the main cast. Like obviously numbers are insane, right?
Yes.
And Nadeo can be like, yo, look at this. We had a cast and got 10,000 viewers. Wow. On Virtual's channel. Like no matter what he would stream, he would gain such amounts of people. But I think if you want to grow Trackmania World Tour as a whole, you need to invest in your own freaking show. You have to. Even if it
puts me out of a job, like
exactly,
invest,
or me.
Yeah,
or me. I don't like. You have to. I mean, every single esports has a main cast, and then you have like watch parties from big creators.
Yes.
But the way it is now is just like, I mean,
it's a hot mess.
yeah,
Like like I am I had an angry French caster who didn't get a TMGL cast spot. I mentioned it before. Make a tweet about all the cast numbers, and then you see my cast right at the bottom because it's on my channel. I'm not really known in this. If you went to Trackadia, you know who I am. Outside of that, you have no idea who the heck I am, and that's perfectly fine. I understood that, and Sinners understood that. I'm not getting paid for my job. I just got the opportunity to cast, and I was like, heck yeah, bro. So, like, yeah, import who? Thank you, chat. But like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, even if that took the opportunity away from me from being able to cast TMGL, I would much rather have TMGL as a whole and Trackmania, the esports as a whole, be on one main channel because our production, Chris, mentioned it in the comment, and this is what incensed me more than anything else, was that Chris listed out multiple things. You can get sponsor revenue there. You can get stream revenue there. You can get so many things beneficial just from streaming on your own channel consistently. And then you to go in there. I'm not going to name the individual, although we all freaking know who it is. Going point by point and saying not valuable, not valuable, not valuable. It blows my mind.
Yeah, and this comes down to how inflated the numbers have been, because we have always had Solary pulling like 20K numbers back in the days, and this whole streamer or organization needing like I'm gonna tell you guys, back then you had to have I'm not under any NDA anymore, so we're just gonna like back then you needed to have an influencer who had at least 1,000 plus viewers to stream. This is beta season. Nobody had that. Nobody. Like I was like Diffuse Kids back then was lucky to have me as the streamer that I was to pull like numbers, but every single org had to have an influencer to like just stream. And that's why we saw with Eminem, we saw they had like I don't even know who she was, like an Instagram somebody just streaming. Yeah. And like that is that just happens. And but right now it's it's much better. But yeah, the view that Nadeo has is like numbers, and they just are pretty much blinded by that. And I think they are afraid that if they stream maybe on their Trackmania channel, then it's not gonna pay off. But maybe in 5 years it's gonna pay off. Who knows?
Yeah,
you have to start at some point.
I'm just hoping that they
Trackmania Esports as an official esports. Sometimes it feels like a side project that is going well, that you can improve, but it's like there, like they don't want to push it as how big it would be. Since I started playing this game, it wasn't Team 2020. I'm a newbie. But since I started playing this game, I was like, man, this is so entertaining to watch. Like, this is such a big esport opportunity to make. And then when I start watching TMGL, when I start watching all the championships, I was like, the fuck is going on here? Sorry, but that what happened to me, because even when I was watching the lower on League of Legends or in other games like in Dota and stuff, their championships, their leagues were so professional, and then they took the game as it was the biggest game in the earth, And here in Trackmania, they take Trackmania as if I don't know, it's an indie small company that no one knows about the game. When you have to take this game and make it yourself, feel it like it's the big shit, and make it everyone sees as you take care of this and you want to make it big. But now with this is some sort of we don't want to stream in our channel because blah blah blah. Man,
it's like, they need to they need to understand and change. Like, this is how every esports star. You think Rocket League just like relied on a bunch of streamers to like get to where they were? No, they started on their own channel. The homies at Rocket League, and Mr. Hunted could probably tell you even, had a freaking studio before their esports really was even big. They had a full-on production, they had a studio and everything, streaming their professional league. Like, obviously you don't have to go to that extent, but you have selected streamers. Give them the dang stream key and have them stream on your channel. Like, they have to learn at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we see like they are doing a good job. This like I will say they are doing a pretty damn good job this season of covering all the regionals. I mean, the challenger is doing really well.
Perfect. That stuff is fine.
But then, it's just it kind of waters down when it gets to the big league.
And that's the weirdest thing too. You were actually doing the thing that needs to be done for your regional and your challenger league, but the biggest league you want to everybody have to see is the one that you're going to say, hey, everybody else, let's pawn it off on you guys and splinter our viewership. Because honestly, that splinter viewership, there's only certain viewers that will only watch a certain streamer or whatever. I get it. But at the same time, eventually, those viewers will migrate. It doesn't happen immediately, but it will eventually happen.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah. So
hopefully that time is gonna be maybe next season or 2024. But I do believe that is the direction that they have to go, because I definitely see this league can grow fast, and it's gonna happen fast. And if they are not ready for it, then we're in a situation where you're just not on time with things, and you have to, how do you say this, capitalize on what's happening now and the successes that are now happening now and potentially coming. You need to be ready for that, and I think they don't realize that yet.
Yeah, one thing I want to interject here, especially with the Trackmania Games 2024 being planned as a side event for the Olympics in Paris.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you don't grow your channel now, and that was my entire point when I wrote it in the Trackmania Discord, is you need to start growing now, invest now, and not later, because later might be way too late already.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. But you know what's not going to be too late and is going to be on a mainstream is going to be when Trackadia, the successor of that Trackadia event that you guys maybe heard of that happened in Hamburg, was also nominated for Event of the Year, by the way. That's gonna be a thing. So I can give you some news. I can't leak the name. I can't leak the venue. But I can tell you kind of where it is. So it's going to be in Cologne, assuming everything goes to plan. Disclaimer. What I'm about to say, everything that is going to be happening is 99.98% going to happen. We have like one or two things that have to fall in place, but the people who we have found are all in. So they are trying to get their ducks in a row. And once they get their ducks in a row, we'll get our ducks in a row. And once we have our ducks in a row, which will be a lot quicker, I think, we'll be announcing everything. But make plans for Cologne and make plans for around the end of September. And that is all I'm going to say. It is not going to be called Trackadia. We are not going to use that name, obviously, because it was used by Arcadia, and it was the mixed name of Trackadia and, Trackmania and Arcadia. And obviously we can't use it that way. But, there's going to be some exciting things. It is a way bigger venue than Arcadia Hotel. And that is all I can say without giving it away. So please start planning. I even had this discussion with Spammiej.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything.
Yeah, he didn't know. And I was like, bro.
I have no idea.
So
that people are gonna ask me about this for the entire next week, right? If they hear this, they're gonna be, Spam, you
just say it's gonna be in Cologne. Ask Evo guys. They're at Import. That's what literally all the people in the Evo Discord do, is they just at me all the time.
Ask Import.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Reverse, I guess.
Yeah. Who
Will
is
do.
Imports? Okay, chat. All right, whatever. All right, so let's go to Q&A with chat.
Yeah, what
That's the thing. There was one question already submitted at the very beginning. If you have questions in the chat, Spotify, hello, we know you still exist. We will be reading the chat comments and we will be answering them hopefully within 10 minutes. If we go a little bit longer, oh well. All right, so first question was by Katza Eric. Would you guys say Trackmania is harder than sim racing, like iRacing?
I cannot really
I
give
don't
my
think they're
opinion.
comparable.
Like even then, I cannot really give my opinion on it because I would never like be in a position where I had the pro level in sim racing. So I cannot say. I have no clue.
I
I've
actually
never
do
played
have
the
an
game.
opinion.
Okay, Shorty, go.
Yeah, I mean, physically more demanding, obviously, but
Yeah.
overall harder or easier, there is no such thing. Like you
Yeah.
can't say chess is easier than this or that, especially if you're talking about the highest level in competition in that sport, then it doesn't matter what you do, it's always going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's never going to be easy.
Yeah, I played iRacing for how long was it? At least for a solid, I want to say year and a half, and I was in a lot of leagues. I wasn't pro level, but I was like in a lot of amateur leagues, mainly in NASCAR. Don't judge me. But
Oh my god.
yeah, whatever. I also played a lot of road racing. I played a lot of IndyCar and also GTE, GT3 stuff. Um, the game is different. There's a lot of downtime. And it sounds so weird saying this in a racing game, but there is downtime in racing, especially on straights, where really you have time to think and you have time to strategize. You have a lot of time to be able to look at different things that are going on in your environment. Obviously, you're focusing on the track, but you have the ability to have moments to be able to kind of have a methodical thought process of everything that you're going through.
Like on NASCAR, you have thought process all the time.
Yeah, but Trackmania is more like a memorization game, and you just have to remember what part comes next and execute it properly. Like, I don't think and that sounds very simplistic and it makes it sound easier, but it's not, because saying that in itself is easy, but executing it is the big word here, is not easy. And I just don't think they're comparable, because iRacing has things, or just sim racing in general, you have to execute things, and Trackmania, you also have to execute things. Now, the amount of mental capacity or mental space or mental brevity you get in between each action is different. Trackmania, you don't have it. iRacing, you do, but that doesn't make iRacing less hard, because you're having to do physical mechanical things, while in iRace or in Trackmania, you're either playing on a keyboard. I mean, I guess if you're Granada, you're actually using a wheel, whatever. Or Bozbez using a freaking just mouse
That's
playing
the
the
best
game.
one, yeah.
Homie,
How?
like, I don't know how you do that. But yeah, I don't see how they're really comparable, because they're also two completely different genres. Trackmania is a arcade racing game. It is not comparable to a sim racing game by any means.
True.
And next question, or any questions.
They were just
Production, were you doing
asking
your job
about
and
the
keeping an eye
beans.
out? Oof, really mad.
I mean, you can compare different games and different sports, but you can't say they are easier or harder. Like every game has its own kind of challenges. Trackmania being so mentally demanding, requiring real, like the precision is obviously really insane. And you have certain other sports like long jumping, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like you can compare them with like downtime and stuff like that, which in some sports you do have a lot of downtime. You have a lot of time to like refocus and concentrate again or on something. And in Trackmania, matches are rather fast paced, where you don't have a lot of time in between. You have things like chess, which are basically full strategy. Like you don't have anything apart from strategy there, basically. But you can't say which is easier or harder. But
All right.
yeah, you can compare
Well,
them.
there's really no question. So I will do the final question for Spammiej. And
Okay.
all three of you actually. First, we'll start with Spammiej. Actually, no, we'll go with Shorty first because I
Now we
always
have
ask
more
Lime first.
questions.
Oh, now there's a few more. Okay.
You have to keep. Time. You have to give people time to think about a question. This is
I
like
don't
when you
have
go to
time for
school, you know?
people. Look, I want my free time, and I gotta go to bed soon.
Oh, it's past my way
It's
past
past.
my time.
Man, homie's gotta stream at like noon or whatever, or whenever time
I
he
need to
starts
get my
streaming.
beauty sleep.
Yeah.
Here, Lime team.
Okay.
Team
So.
schedule.
Yeah.
So since the this is by Taboo Concept, since the console release is soon to happen, what do you think we will or should see from Naughty? Man, that's a loaded question.
Nothing.
Spammiej, hit it.
I don't know. It's just, I don't think there's gonna be any extra content. It's just gonna be, boom, console is on, and we'll see an influx of players. I mean, hopefully, that's what we thought would happen with Steam, but I don't see any positive thing happen from Steam yet. Maybe in the long run, but yeah, I have no insights, but I think for me personally, it would have a huge impact if everything goes well because I'm a streamer, so more people would search for my content. But overall, I don't think it's gonna like competitiveness is not gonna increase instantly. It's gonna take years to get to like a great stage. But fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's gonna propel Trackmania to new heights.
Thing is that it's not been advertised. It's the same thing when that happened with the Steam.
Are you surprised?
Only we, the
Yeah, are you
community,
surprised?
knew that
Very
it's
worrying.
gonna be released on the Steam, and the rest is like,
Yep.
now what? It's not like, for example, when Nintendo says, "Oh, this new game is gonna be on Nintendo Switch," and they advertise for like 2 months that the freaking game is gonna be on Nintendo Switch. When Trackmania said, "Oh, we're gonna be on Steam," it was like from a week to another, and then suddenly it was on Steam, and they released the game even on a date when the cap wasn't even free. So they were like saying, "Oh, maybe we're gonna have more audience today on Cap of the Day, and probably the servers are gonna go down." And I was like, "How is the server gonna go down when the people have to pay to play the Cap?" And I was like, "What? This is such a marketing disaster."
Yeah, why was the cup not free that day? Anyways,
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the one Steam reviewer guy who review bombed the game because he couldn't figure out how to bind the restart button to his controller. Anyways, next question by Forever was we had a lot of discussion on the negatives of the new Trackmania World Tour. What do you guys consider the biggest positive of the new format? I think the 2v2 aspect. I think that's just a big positive. I think that's an interesting change. Was it an expected change? No. But I think at first, I think a lot of people were skeptical, including myself. And I think that but I think the 2v2 format has had a lot of positive changes, and you can already see it rippling throughout the rest of the community because a lot of tournaments are now considering or now even doing 2v2 tournaments now.
I think
it's really funny. Shorty, do you know in 2011 the ESL tournament Red Bite in Milan?
No,
did you try to qualify for that? I'm not sure.
2011, I think.
Yeah.
Not yet. No.
Because this was my first ever international tournament, and it was a 2v2 tournament. So it's really fun to me. It's like with fashion. Something like 50 years ago, now is again like fashionable. And so I compared it with like my very first LAN event in Milan. This was huge back then. Was a duo tournament, and to see it, come back in this way and shape and form is really cool. No, I think it's super positive, like everything. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Maybe the format can be a little bit tweaked or the points, but overall, a huge positive.
Ooh, final question. And well,
no, wait.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Hello, I'm still here, by the way.
Who are you?
No, I think Spam, you can fully agree with that. I think by far the biggest and best improvement of the new system over the others we had in TMGL before. It's fair.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
like
Yeah. God damn it. Losing points. I mean, who thought this was like gonna be a good
Oh
thing?
yeah, oof that season.
I mean,
Why would any organizer think that losing points on the last map after playing an entire hour is like the thing? Like, man.
you know,
Like,
I put that season behind me and completely forgot about
I
it.
mean,
and
I
you
forgot
just gave me
about it, but
nightmares.
now Shorty just yeah,
I'm sorry if
Yeah.
I'm opening
Yeah, you
Overwatch,
just
but
gave
Yeah.
us nightmares. Thanks for that.
no,
Literally.
but that's by far the best improvement, right? Like, you
I
can tweak the points, maybe you can make small
Yeah.
adjustments, but no matter what the system right now, it's already fair and
see
it's
that
also
year.
competitive.
That year is when
Exactly.
I was like became one of the head admins of Evo, I think, and that was like my first like real kind of like, okay, it's time to pay attention to Trackmania Esports since I'm investing myself in this game more. And then I watched it and I was like, what is this? What am I watching? Who does this? Why?
They were literally the evil, you know? They were
Yeah, it was like a torture chamber.
Yeah, man.
It was
how
not
can we make this format the worst possible for them? I was
man,
like, what?
it's like if you don't answer this question, I'm gonna rip your fingernails away, and then you're like, no, don't, and bam, all your points are gone.
And
Yeah.
But it was exciting at least.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
exciting.
it was the most exciting.
Yeah, for you guys,
Yeah.
not for me.
No.
No,
I was
It was
yeah,
not.
for you
so
guys.
It was
fun
not
to
exciting
watch.
as a viewer. I'm sorry.
You were
That
you were
was-
like XDD, Omega lol, Omega lol, he lost 70 points, lol, yeah.
spam in the mud. Let's go.
Oh,
All
amen.
right. Let's see here. Was there one final? There was one final question. Oh, did spam know? I don't know if you have NDA or not. So if you can't answer this, just say you can't. Did you know about the TMWT duo format before the decision to retire?
No,
No.
my decision to retire was made halfway in the season.
Gotcha.
I like.
All right.
I already knew that the way things were going, it was looking very grim. So halfway, I already made peace with if in the end I am last, that is when I cut my ties. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not influence my efforts to keep trying though. Many
Oh,
people might think that, but I never gave up until the very last moment. But no, I didn't know.
All right. Well, that is it for the questions. That's where we're going to end it here. So it is the end of the podcast. Once again, I want to thanks everybody for joining us. Spammiej, honestly, thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure to be able to hear from you and kind of get your input on things. Things I honestly don't think I've ever heard you get the opportunity necessarily, or maybe I just don't watch your stream enough, but to kind of like really get your thoughts on things in a little bit more deeper way regarding everything that's going on in Trackmania. At the same time, good luck at GameX. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I might see you there.
Okay.
I'm supposed to stay with Boney, but it's really about the train ticket, and I'm
Yep.
kind of gross. Yeah, but I might be there too. We'll see. But also Lime and Shorty, as always, my co-host, my wonderful co-host, tolerating me and my isms.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for always hanging out, showing up, talking, and doing the thing. And thank you all to our viewers. Thank you to everybody on Spotify, all the people in the chat, chatting the Drakes right now. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are going to be back next week on Thursday at 9 o'clock with a new guest that is going to be forever. And I can leak. We're going to have an announcement in the coming weeks. That's going to be a really big announcement. No, it is not Trackadia related. And also we will have an even more special, well, not even more special guest because they're not more special than forever, but they are pretty special. In March, the first week. I'm not going to announce that yet because I need to make sure the final confirmation for them, but everybody knows who they are, and that's going to be really cool. So make sure you subscribe, do all the things, check us out, blah, 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 all the things, and especially follow Spammiej if you haven't already. Why haven't you already? That's kind of weird. He does a really good cast. I consider, of all the streamers who follow their teams and everything, you are actually a person who casts, and I appreciate that. Whatever these other streams are that call them casts, they need to stop bastardizing the word casting because it's about to make me go insane. But anyways, that's another chat for another day.
It's a really nice watch party.
Yes.
Yeah.
A great
watch
watch
party.
party. Yeah.
I mean, I get too
let's use that
excited.
term more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a good evening, Spammy. I know you want to get to bed. Thank you guys so much, and you guys have a good rest of your evening. Also, thanks, Chris, for production. Woo.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.